Now, Kew Gardens takes pride in its rich biodiversity with thriving foliage and more than 2,000 species of trees alone. But bosses there have warned that our rapidly changing climate means more than 5,000 individual trees, more than half of those in the gardens, could be at risk of dying by 2090. So what are staff there doing to keep the sprawling grounds filled with life? Sally went along to find out.
Through all the chaos life can throw at us, trees are a constant.
They also make you feel lovely and young. This one is nearly 200 years old and is one of 11,000 here at Kew.
But climate change is coming for Kew's trees, and possibly more than half of them in the next 70 years.
So you've just told me, it slightly broken my heart, that this tree will potentially be dead in 2 years, and yet it looks healthy. But tell us what's wrong with it.
So it's all the twiggy dieback and the canopy, the amount of leaves it has, massively reduced.
You can see that the twigs are bare.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing, and this is prime drought stress examples.
Among the vulnerable trees, the absolute classics, from the oak to the holly to the beech.
This is depressing.
It is a worry, and we have to understand that. Trees aren't like humans, they can't get up and walk. They have to learn to adapt. And that what we're seeing is the trees that we have here in the Arboretum, not all of them have that ability to adapt.
The reality is that Kew could be 4 degrees hotter by the end of the century.
So Kew could look quite different by 2090, but thankfully they're doing something about it, and that's what we're off to see now.
This is the nursery where Kevin and his team are researching and monitoring more resilient species to grow.
Kevin calls these his Frankenstein trees because, well, they're covered in gadgets and monitored for everything such as sunlight and moisture to the nth degree. Give us some good news. Which trees are happy?
Yeah, so like this tree behind us, this is Ginkgo. This is actually really interesting. We believe this comes from the time of the dinosaurs.
Wow,
and that's why it survived. It's adapted to deal with lots of different stresses.
Kevin hopes the rest of London will embrace their work here and grow what will live long and prosper, so that we can too.
Oh, it'd be terrible to lose those glorious oaks.
I know, I can't believe like half of them. It's kind of staggering, really.
Well, at least they're doing something to help things evolve and adapt, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right.
Now, look at this. Just some of the 11,000 trees at London's Kew Gardens. But scientists are warning that more than half of them are at risk of dying before the end of the century. It's all because of climate change. Experts are predicting London will have the same climate as present-day Barcelona in 2050. Helen Drew has spent the day there.
We're talking about trees which could be at risk, not just here at Kew, but across London and the South East. And they include familiar species like this English oak, which has stood here for more than 300 years, and yet recently has started to show that it's being impacted by the warming climate. This is what you call twig dieback, a key indicator that the tree is feeling stressed, and no more leaves will grow on this twig, for example. And then we have what's known as sooty mould, another sign that the tree's in trouble. And that's this tree and many others which could struggle over the coming years, which is why horticulturalists here at Kew have come up with a plan.
Trees as far as the eye can see, thousands of which could be in danger.
Well, I'd hate to lose this tree. This is a hybrid oak. It's called Luckham's oak. It's a hybrid actually between Turkey oak and cork oak, and hopefully with that cork oak, which is a Mediterranean species, it will tolerate hot, dry conditions.
For clues about what could happen to these beautiful trees as the climate changes, we can look to previous heat waves.
I was last here with you back in 2022 at the beginning of the drought, and you did lose trees that year, didn't you?
We did. We in fact lost about 400 trees in that whole year. In a normal year we lose about 30, so that gives you an idea of the effects. And that was a real wake-up call for us. It said to us, you know, actually you need to take notice, you need to do some sensible looking at your collections, looking at the future.
So this is a clone of our native beech.
Following that drought, scientists and horticulturalists here have produced a report on the need to plant more trees currently found in warmer countries.
We're going to these drier environments. They're semi-arid, so they have hot temperatures and really dry summers, but they still get moisture and cold temperatures as well. So they're the areas we're starting to look at. So we've been to the Romanian steppe forest, and we're going into the Caucasus and going to Georgia to look at the ecosystems there. We're bringing the seed back, we then propagate them in our nursery, and that we're growing them on for the living collections, so we can keep this magnificent landscape here, but also really importantly for research, we need to understand how these trees have adapted.
It doesn't mean only planting new species, but trees like oak can also survive when they're sourced from hotter climates. And healthy trees have a positive impact on climate change.
We know that the trees act in effect as our air conditioning in urban environments. They provide shade, they cool the local microclimate. You know, they provide a whole range of services for better quality of living for us and many other things in their habitats.
Some of the trees in danger are hundreds of years old, others are much younger. But with diverse planting and seeds from abroad, the variety here and across much of the country can be preserved. Helen Drew, BBC London.